The Nikki Glaser Podcast. The Nikki Glaser Podcast.
Hello, here I am. It's Nikki Glaser. Welcome to the Nikki Glaser Podcast. I am here in St. Louis, joined by my mom in studio. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Nikki.
I'm so glad to have you back
excited.
in here. I know. I'm excited. You're here for a special reason today.
I sure am.
Brian is also here with us from New York.
Hello.
Hi, Brian. He's in New York right now for the holiday. But we have a very special guest on the show today, which I'm sure you already know from the description on the podcast. It's one of my favorite comedians of all time, and my mom's favorite comedian. You're our favorite.
I don't want to say she's my favorite. I want to say
no, it's okay.
You're my favorite, but Kathy's my favorite.
Kathy Griffin is just such an inspiration to. I would not be who I am without Kathy Griffin. My mom would not be who she is without Kathy Griffin.
That's probably true too.
So inspiring to us. We've watched her along just for so many years now. She is embarking on her first tour of America in 6 years. It's called My Life on the PTSD-List. It is a 40-city tour. I am definitely traveling to Kansas City to go see it because it's the closest that it's getting to me.
Nice.
I was sad that I couldn't go see you in Vegas. I thought, oh my gosh, is this just a one-off thing? I'm so glad you're back on tour. Welcome to the show, Kathy. I'm sorry to keep talking. Please. I'm just so blessed to meet you today.
Oh my God, you're so sweet. Well, I love you. You know that. And Julie, I'm your favorite. Just say it. I'm clearly
okay. You're my favorite. Definitely.
And
you always have been, but Nikki came into the scene and it was like, what do I do?
No,
Yeah.
Julie, I prefer you to Nikki. Right? Nothing about that.
No, Kathy, whenever my mom laughs at your material, because we'll watch your stuff together, she always goes, I'm sorry. She's just so funny. She always has to say, I'm sorry. And I go, why are you apologizing? And it's always because she thinks I'm getting offended on some level. And I go, I'm not.
No.
She is the queen.
You're the queen.
My mom did the same thing. When I was in the Groundlings, the improv group back in the day,
Yeah.
I was in the Groundlings with Lisa Kudrow, who of course went on to be in Friends. And my mom would come to the show, and afterwards she would go, oh, Kathleen, that Lisa Kudrow. She just has the it factor. And I'd be like, put up my sketch. And she'd go, well, you should keep working. But Lisa has everything. It's a pack. So I'm used to it. That's what moms do at your job, Julie.
Yeah, I mean, don't you think that's a reason why you are the way you are, though, is because of that? Just were you always seeking her validation? Were you always trying to get your mom's approval?
Yes.
Is that yeah?
Look at me, look at me. I mean, it's just
Yes.
beautiful. I was the youngest of 5 and, a wonderfully dysfunctional family. And my parents enjoyed the drink. And so I was just dancing around trying to get their attention. But it was hard to get their attention away from like the highball mix. Do you guys remember the mixes? Where you would put powder in a drink and stir it? Which I could do when I was like 7. Like,
Wow.
you can make my parents like a highball or an old. It was powder. And then we had Hamburger Helper, which was more powder. I was raised on powder there.
That was the day. That's what they ate.
Yeah. Did you
mean-
find that your parents watch a lot of TV? So was that a way for you to go like, okay, they'll pay attention to me if I get on that? Was that a part of it?
Were totally starstruck. So I'm from Chicago, and believe it or not, until the John Hughes movies started filming in Chicago, like the Breakfast Club and stuff,
Yeah.
Mayor Daley, who was the mayor when I was a kid, he would not, the dogs are here. He would not allow filming in Chicago. So my parents were very starstruck, and we saw every movie. And there was one theater in our town called the Lake Theater in Oak Park, Illinois. And we would go to every Friday, no matter what the movie was. And I remember one time the movie for a week was the documentary Pumping Iron with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And we still went. We were like, yep, we're going because it's a movie every Friday. They were super starstruck. And so when I started to get like TV gigs or little parts in movies, I took my parents to every gig I had. And it is to this day the joy of my career. Like I had a little part on ER, and I would even 2 lines. Somehow I would talk the producers into letting my parents come to the set with their folding chairs.
Aw.
And I have pictures of my parents with George Clooney from ER. And it was like the episode that Quentin Tarantino directed. So there's a picture of my parents with Quentin Tarantino.
Wow.
Nice.
It was honestly like it was a blast to bring them because they, and by the way, they didn't bother anybody. And by the end of the day, they would be the darlings of the set. And people would
That's the way it is for me.
great.
Kathy, I really took a page from that book of yours of bringing my parents to everything that I can, involving them in every way. They've been on pretty much every shoot that I can get them on. I've incorporated them into every kind of TV show, and I bring my dad on stage with me. I just love them so much, and I think I do know that they appreciate and value show business so much that it is something that's it's nice to be able to. I mean, it's a way to get their attention. I do think that was a thing that I was like, oh, my parents really like TV people. I mean, I think was probably one of the reasons I got into this. I'm going to take a little dark turn here. I really fear losing my parents because I was even crying to my therapist yesterday. I was like, I don't know that I will have any reason to keep doing this if I'm not, because they're the first ones who text me when I'm on TV. They watch everything I do. They are, they maybe don't say all the right things, but they're so supportive. They, and maybe sometimes I get a text and I'm like, oh, I don't even care that they watch that, but they're always, but I do care. It means so much to me that they're always watching. And I fear that when they're gone mentally, physically, whatever, that I will have no, what's making me do this? Because I really think it's to make them proud.
You'll bring them back. I learned this from the great Don Rickles, my dear departed friend, the one and only Don Rickles. And his mom came to every show and he would talk to her and she sat, I can't remember if she sat in the front or the back, but then she passed away and there was a certain period of time when he kind of didn't do anything. And then he would talk about her in a way that was very, poetic. And I still talk about my mom and my act because the people that come to my shows knew my mom and my dad. And they say tippet, which is something my mom would say because my mom had enjoyed a box of wine. Yes. And when the plastic bag inside the box was getting low,
you gotta tip it.
You tip the box and then you use the spigot to get the very last drops.
I know this.
Because we broke and live in our car and eat dog food. So all that stuff you can still talk about. But I do love talking about your dead mother when she's in the room. Now, Julie, and I don't want to burst into tears with my therapist, but Julie, what celebrities have stuck out with you that you've met?
Through Nikki?
Blake Shelton.
Yes. Well, yeah, Blake. I've met so many. Dave Matthews, Blake Shelton.
Wait, tell me about Nick Shelton.
Well, Nikki was doing a game show with him.
Barmageddon. It's out now.
Yeah.
My episode will be in January.
Oh, good. Good to
know.
Anyway, we got to, and Nikki's like, do you want to go? Because Taylor Swift is playing in Nashville also, and you can go with me to that. And I'm like, I'm so in. She took me on tour with her to go see Taylor, 4 different shows. Different cities. Nikki's so generous with me, Kathy. It's unbelievable. Anyway, Blake, spent 15 minutes with me, just sitting next to me.
It's Mr. Shelton, but go ahead.
Well, he didn't cringe when I said Blake, but he's such a nice guy. He's just I really didn't even know who he was, to be honest. I know who he is, but I didn't know how cool he was, to be honest.
Did he just charm the pants off you?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He was really just
he's talking about how he met Gwen. He was letting us in on all this kind of insider info.
Yeah.
And he had his own green room, but he didn't even use it. He just hung out in ours. And then I thought he was just being nice to me and just saying hi to my mom and me and sitting down for a second when we first got there.
Yeah.
But then I got called to set and he just stayed with my mom. He just stayed behind and sat with her for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even oh, I'm just going to be a real gentleman now. It was just he was genuinely interested in her and her story. And that stuff really stands out to
How
you.
does Gwen Stefani feel about your whore mother trying to take Blake?
Well, I don't know. I said, don't tell
Your
Gwen.
mother's a harlot.
I said, don't tell Gwen.
But it was so funny because I was shooting a show this summer, and there was some of the same crew from that show. And they kept coming up to me and going, "When's your mom coming to set again?
Wow.
We love your mom." I just texted a guy about your mom. Like, people just loved you because you were throwing back a couple. You got into the wine on that shoot.
Yeah.
And you were just being funny and
At the
hilarious.
end.
And you were filming me. She was in the crowd shot, which is supposed to be like a drunk honky tonk bar of like cool, millennials, Gen Z. And my mom's just holding up her phone filming me as I'm doing some of these like competitions.
Sorry, I didn't know about
we had to cut around your mom filming you the whole time. But it was, she's just like a blast everywhere she goes. And she just told me a story.
Has Julie ever embarrassed you? Come on, be honest.
Oh,
I mean, yeah.
surely.
Yeah, for sure. But that was like in high school, when I was like trying to be cool. I think I heard you say it too about your parents, is that my dad is the one who's like intentionally funny and like has the jokes. And then my mom is the one that's just born funny and doesn't really know why she's funny. And like she makes everyone laugh. Everything she says. Yeah, Mom, you are the one. I feel like I'm listening to like a couples counseling session like I do on these podcasts. I
love this,
They always go, "You can tell her, Nikki. You can tell her."
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I've told you this before. You're the funniest person I know, but you don't even. I've tried to actually imbue some of your characteristics of the way you talk and just the things you say.
You do a good job.
Well,
really.
I know I do.
You know
I do. But you are just funny the way you are, and so it's and that to me, I don't know about you, Kathy, but I feel like I've always tried to be funny, or it's been like I think I have some of that natural ability, but it's more for me. I think I'm more of like my dad's version, but as I get older, I'm trying to relax and be like, oh wait, there is a natural funny part of me that I've been kind of almost fighting by trying so hard.
No, I love that I love both of those kinds of people. I was so lucky to have those like archetypes of people with my parents, because my dad, honestly, he could have been a comic. Like, he was really funny. I mean, it's the kind of humor that I have, which, sometimes it served me well and sometimes it hasn't. But like, I remember when I was a little kid, we had this like really close family friend. He was almost like an uncle, and he redid their rec room. Remember rec rooms, Julie?
Oh, of course.
Sort of, but we called it a rec room.
Right.
So Mr. Gillian was his name. So Mr. Gillian finishes the rec room, and he did it all himself. And it's Sunday, and we'd gone to church. And I remember my dad's holding my hand. I'm a little kid, and my dad walks in, and he goes, "What a shit box." Funniest. And my mother was appalled.
Of course.
Gillian laughed because he knew my dad was kidding. But I want to capture that quality of like being able to be not mean. Like, we're talking about Rickles. Like, believe it or not, Rickles was wounded when people thought he was mean. And I never understood how you could think Rickles or Joan Rivers were mean, because they were so clearly like letting you in on the joke, but their world was this no BS world. And yet my dad did kind of need my mom to be a legit person that was legit appalled at everything he said.
Yes.
Even though she was giggling too.
Right.
I love that like balance of my mom was a character. She didn't know why she was funny. My dad could like tell a joke on cue. So and you have that, Nikki, where you can marry those two things, but you can be funny on cue like that.
It's, when I let go, I think when I'm obsessed about what I'm going to say and trying to be the funniest, I'm somewhere in between, when I go on talk shows, I want prepared material. I want to know exactly the beats I'm going to hit. I want to make sure I have funny jokes. And then there is a part though of letting go. I didn't come up doing improv or sketch. So I don't have that. I've always just done stand-up. So it's always been like, I know what I'm going to say when I get up there. I don't really do crowd work. I'm kind of nervous about letting myself just go and letting the funny find itself. But as I get older, I think I'm just learning to like myself more and just trust that whatever I am is unique and it's fine. And that's what makes me special. But it takes so many years to fucking start just
but you have
liking
a point
yourself.
of view, and that's what makes you successful, because comics that just try to write material or almost recite material, it has to come from your point of view. What is the shit you think is funny? Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on here.
Yeah, please.
Okay. the shit you think is funny. But by the way, can we talk about crowd work? Okay.
Yes.
Nikki, I don't do this trend. Like, if this is the new trend, I'm sorry. Like, I get crowd work and I admire people and I do have an impact.
Me too.
And that's great. But I actually feel philosophically that if you buy a ticket to, Kathy Griffin, My Life on the PTSD tour, you can just relax. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want the audience to know I'm going to do all the work. There's 2 hours where you just have to sit in your seat. Also, you play theaters like I do. That's a very different animal. You can't do crowd work with someone in row 1 because then the 1,000 people behind them or more, if you're lucky, 2,500 people or whatever, they can't hear that person.
They have no, Sebastian Maniscalco, because he relies on a part of his set to do crowd work, he will have a camera filming that person and then it shows up on the screen. So he's orchestrated in a way that it can make sense for the whole theater. But you're absolutely right. It's I know that when I go to shows or when I was a person that was, before I did stand up, I was terrified of being singled out or being called on. And I think that most people have that. There are some people that are dying to be roasted or be involved in the show. But those people I'm not really interested in entertaining. I actually give a speech before my show that says, like, if you have seen my roast before and you're here thinking that's what's going to happen tonight, it's not. If you're a girl who was brought by one of those guys, like, I can't wait for her to tear us to shreds. Right. I'm not going to talk about, you can get up to go to the bathroom and I'm not going to be the one to go like, look at this lady going to take a shit. I tell them, please go to the bathroom. Like, I want you to have no anxiety. Just laugh. If you have a weird laugh, let it go like loudly. I'm not going to address it. You can just relax because I just know that's the kind of experience I want. And I like that you say that because, it's become this trend. And I agree with you. I think it is a talent in its own right. But it really
has to be, it has to be in clubs or like yes. You've got to have like a Jumbotron and stuff. Yeah. And look, that's what I did when I was in the Groundlings. And that's great. And when you go to the Groundlings, which is a comedy troupe in LA or Second City in Chicago, the whole audience knows when they enter, they are going to be asked to make suggestions. But what's funny, Nikki, is I also have people that think I'm a roaster, but I'm not really a classic roaster. And you and I have both done roasts. Yeah. And it's not my comfort zone. And I'll
Me neither.
Sort of roasty type of zingers in my stuff, but it's not the Comedy Central roast of Charlie Sheen, roast of David. Yeah. That's like a assignment. And I feel like what you and I do is this is our time to have however much time you do, but to let it fly, let the stuff that we think is funny out there and that's relatable. I say a thing because I tend to go really long. On my last tour, which was over 5 years ago, I did some shows that were over 3 hours because
oh my God.
I actually did every show like it was my last show. And then on my last show, it fucking was my last show.
Yeah.
And then the phone didn't ring, Nikki, for 5 years. I did the most successful tour of my career. I got to play freaking Singapore and the Sydney Opera House and Carnegie Hall and Radio City. And I thought, okay, now I'm over the Trump photo. People are okay. And they weren't. And 5 long years, I've been
not fair.
And trying to I've pitched talk shows and game shows and scripted shows and unscripted shows. And it's just been like this toxicity all from that Trump photo. And it's crazy because I feel like this tour came together. I'm not kidding. 3 weeks ago, I finally got a call from an agent like 6 weeks ago. And then an agent and a manager. And then they routed this tour. And so I got 40 cities and it's just mind blowing because it's awesome. It's almost like America has finally forgiven me, which is a very odd thing to like go through,
It's gotta be because you must have just thought this is never gonna lift. Yeah. They're never gonna forgive me. First of all, they don't even care to listen to what was really going on with that photo and why it happened. Yeah. All they want to know is they think that I was actually making a threat against his life. They don't have any interest in hearing me explain myself.
Yeah, I was on the no-fly list. I couldn't tour if I wanted.
I know. And you were under investigation for months.
Yes.
You were.
Wow.
I mean, I can't believe what you went through. Being canceled in that vicious of a way is something that so few people understand. And I've researched it a bit. Like people want you to die. People want you to lose everything.
Yeah.
People really, it must have felt so horrible, especially Kathy, as, someone who people don't understand that comedians are desperate for love, and acceptance. That's why we're doing this. And even if you're a comedian that says crazy things or controversial things, like you said about Rickles, quote unquote mean things, at the core of it is this desperate need of acceptance and love. And so for the opposite of that to happen, I don't know. I can't imagine what you went through. I'm so glad that it's feeling like it's finally lifted. And I can't wait to see how well this tour does.
Feels
because
like a mandatory minimum sentence. Like you got 5
Yes.
years for a photo when there's
Seriously,
other
yes.
people
It
who
was
did
like
much
a
worse
sentence.
things and
Yes.
got 1 year.
And like when people talk about being canceled, first of all, let's be honest. A lot of the people that were canceled were dudes that were like whipping their dicks out and rubbing them against girls. And
yes,
somebody on the set who's like a Holocaust denier. Like I took a photo that was
you're in the same boat.
a protest photo, in my opinion. Some people thought it was a joke. You can interpret it however you want. But to be investigated by 2 agencies within the Department of Justice and have the White House like serious about charging me with conspiracy to assassinate the President of the United States.
Oh my God.
It was just so intense.
Insane.
And-
that it's ridiculous.
It's no wonder you have
On
PTSD.
and on, and people just can't get over it. Like, it was the craziest thing. Like, I did the Stephen Colbert show one time, and I'm a giant fan of his. I love the Colbert Report in particular.
Yeah.
And I went on, and he was so tough on me that the minute the interview was over, I went in the wings and I freaking burst into tears.
Oh.
It was so embarrassing. And the producer came over to me and he said, I'll never forget, he goes, he just couldn't get beyond the picture.
Oh God. Give me a break.
Because it was brutal. And he goes, I'm going to give you a beautiful edit. And it was one of those shows where they did a Thursday show that would run Friday, and it came out fine. But people that came at me, it wasn't just the right wing. It was left, right, and center.
Oh.
You know what? Can't anyone just understand that sometimes you make a fucking mistake?
Yes.
And that we've all been caught up in a moment. I mean, people can't relate to photo shoots and the ideas that get thrown out and the things that you do. Like I've had water dumped on me with a white t-shirt with my nipples hanging out. Like I've done kind of partially nude photographs when I didn't even want to,
right?
Because a guy in my kitchen was like, I have a cool idea. Can't anyone grasp that?
I
sometimes it boils down to
You
you
understand
pressing post on your Instagram. Your life was over. You just hit a button. You hit your phone with your thumb, and your life was fucking over.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That thing, Nikki, I was doing it because I was in between gigs. I was out of work, and one of the things that I do, and you're like this as a self-starter, is I thought, you know what? I had of course, the photographer had no fallout, typical. But I had worked with him before and I foolishly trusted him. But, I thought, why don't I take a bunch of wacky pictures? And I took one where I was spoofing Kim Kardashian. I took 5 wacky pictures that day. And that Trump picture took 10 minutes. It was the last one of the day.
Yeah, of course.
And I had a Halloween mask and, of Trump and whatever. But I really thought this picture will live on my Instagram for a day, or maybe it'll be on a gay blog, and that'll be.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
God.
You weren't trying to fire up anyone. You weren't trying to make us. It was. We got to go to break, but let's just talk about all this when we get back. I really want to talk about the name of your tour, why you chose that name, and what you've gone through, and you've been through so much more than just this in the past 6 years. We'll be back with more Kathy Griffin after this.
Okay.
We're back. Kathy Griffin is here. She is back on tour, 40 city tour. And I like that you said that I watched an Instagram live of yours recently. These are secondary cities. So these aren't the big cities. These are you took, your agent made a plan for you.
Tarrytown, New York, Omaha, Red Bank, New Jersey, Napa, California, like
Yes.
these cities. And I'm this go around, I'm not doing like LA, New York, Minneapolis, Chicago. I have to, Nikki,
You're taking the temperature.
yeah, but I also have to earn my way back. Like my dream is to play Carnegie Hall again. And let me tell you something.
You've played it 5 times
I played
already.
5 times, just me, no opener, nothing. And you've never met anyone who loves standing on that stage more than I do.
I know.
Judy Garland. I'm sorry. All the I have to earn my way back to Carnegie. I hope to play the Chicago Theater again. I hope to play the Kodak in LA. But I don't know, you guys. I'm scared.
I know. It's
Oh.
100% going to happen. This is your people, whether or not people have forgiven you, everyone who has a head on their shoulders and has been a fan of yours in the past is back on board.
Is always a fan.
Yes. I can't. I was
can't imagine.
clamoring
So
for
how
you to
much
come back on.
And I want to ask your advice. So Julie, you're a super fan of mine. Obviously, I'm a humble legend. All right. So
That's what I love about you.
I'm just humble. The thing that I think really just hurts, but I want to figure out a way to work around it, is what hurts the most is all the people that think about that Trump photo, but they've forgotten they did like Kathy Griffin, My Life on the D-List. They did like my specials. They did like, whatever. And I felt like that photo took away my entire body.
Unfair. I just can't even believe how
I'm the same
unfair.
girl. I'm the same person.
Exactly. And I guarantee you, anyone who's seen you in concert and anyone who knows you, all your fans will be there. They're coming back.
All right.
These are other people that canceled you.
Yeah, and the people that aren't going to come back have a brain disorder. I mean, that's what they have, a mental illness, which we
Exactly.
all know about, and it's like anything to do with that guy, they can't open their heart
Oh
to any
my
kind of
God.
reasoning or just they can't use simple logic. But I really do think the press you'll get from this and the stories that will come out of it, the different appearances you'll make, you're going to start being in their face again a lot more, and people are just going to fall in love with you all over again because you're so fucking funny. I'm so excited to hear this material. You are just one of the most prolific. You are probably the most prolific comedian we have. I always say I'm so grateful that I'm a Swiftie because she is just so prolific and she's constantly putting out stuff. And if you're a fan of Rihanna, you've been waiting for an album for like 2 decades,
Right.
And it sucks. But when you're a fan of Kathy Griffin, I was looking at your special spread of like 20 specials that you've put out.
Yeah.
You would shoot sometimes 3 specials in a year. Like it would be like, 13 months and there would be 3 specials. I'm sure you've been over this before. How do you generate material? What is your writing process? I just saw an Instagram of you actually just typing away of like, how are you getting ready for tour? And it's just you feverishly typing. Is that your process in front of a laptop?
Not really. In fact, I'm just old school bullet points. Like, I have,
Same.
it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I still bring a notebook on stage with me. I don't really look at it, but it's like a security blanket.
Me too.
I have like bullets, and then I'm off and running. And I'm lucky if I get to all of them at the end of the 2 hours.
But you remember all of the punchlines just
Yes.
because I have the same thing. Like
Right,
once
you
you say
get
something
new
that's
ones
funny
and-
and gets a laugh,
Yeah.
it just imprints in your head
Yes.
and it's there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's,
Okay.
remember, I'm from the groundlings. Like I was an actress first, and I went about it, as my mom would say, ass backwards, where I was like on a sitcom. And then I did my first special. I didn't do my first special till I was 36. So I wasn't even on TV till I was 36. So I'm a lady.
You look so fucking good too. It's insane.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
you're
love the improvisational nature. And you want to hear some dish that I'm going to try to
please.
well, let me say, but like, I'm kind of bitter because I've never been on that show with Jerry Seinfeld comedians in cars.
Yeah.
Because Jerry doesn't think I'm like a real comic because I improvise everything. And
No, but you don't. But Kathy, you don't. Like you're not filming specials improvising. I bet you anything. I can watch your specials. I know that maybe you got to the jokes by improvising.
Yeah.
But when you tape a special, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 lines is improvised that night.
Yeah.
But you have memorized the material like anyone else does. You're just not there with a notebook writing out jokes long form. That's interesting. I do feel
just
like
my
that there is a difference between the way the comics that sit with a laptop and memorize their jokes and write them out and then recite them over and over. Look at comics like us who have just kind of worked it out on stage. But there's no difference. You've memorized and come up with material just like they have.
There's also room for everybody. And so I can't even imagine having feelings about a comic the way people like turned on me. Like, it's so shocking to me to this day that people have these such strong feelings, because I think if there's a comic I don't particularly like, I just maybe don't like them. But I don't go on a mission to ruin them, you know? And
that's not the people that loved you, Kathy. These are people who love somebody else, and he's despicable.
I know.
But sorry, they will stand behind him. It doesn't matter what you did. If you said something bad against him, they're going to dislike you.
But there's something that
I'm sorry.
Something resonates with me with what you're saying, Kathy, is like, and it pains me to hear it from you, because you're just someone who I look at as like so strong and just like the funniest person alive. And to hear this, like, why are they still mad at me? Why don't they like me? People who don't like you don't fucking get it. Like, if someone is not a fan of yours, I'm just like, I don't want to be on your list of favorite comedians. I don't want to have anything to do with you, because if you understand good comedy, which I have bad self-esteem in almost every part of my life, but I know what's funny and who's the funniest. And if you don't think Kathy Griffin is funny, you're not smart.
Yeah,
you're not
exactly.
good. You don't have a good barometer of stand-up comedy, and I don't respect your opinion. It's just the way it is. But I do. I think it's
Who
so
cares
interesting
about those people?
But here's the thing that is,
Don't care
I think
about them.
people
All right.
wonder about people like me and people like you, Kathy, that say things on stage that we know are controversial. The same thing as your dad saying, well this place looks like shit. What a shit box. Yes. We say things like that. And then they go, well, then why do you get upset when people don't like you? Clearly, you're saying things that are going to alienate people. I struggle with that. Again, I was talking to my therapist about it yesterday. I'm shooting a special December 16th, and I'm struggling with thank you. I'm struggling with, making material that's going to make me super likable and relatable, and it's going to bring everyone in, and it's not going to alienate anyone. And then at the same time, I know, but don't you struggle with those two as well? Like, I want everyone to like me, but also I want to be myself and have my opinions and have my point of view. How do you square those two?
Because at the end of the day, you still have to be the businesswoman who's selling tickets. And so what I'm trying to work on is I kind of let go of the notion of trying to broaden my fan base, because we've all become so siloed that I'm never, like, it does make me sad, but I'm never going to get those Trumpers back. Yeah. And there are certain regions. I mean, Nikki, I used to play everywhere. I played every Southern market you can imagine. I played the riverboat casinos. I played the performing arts centers. And look, let's face it, some of those markets, they may never forgive me. I mean, when you're talking deep Trump country,
what did you do? I don't really know what you did.
I think I can go there. See, although I am going to Lexington, Kentucky, and I'm selling pretty well there, which is shocking.
Yeah.
I can also try to be the beacon of, like, for the gays and the ladies and the people.
Yes.
And maybe just don't want, they're just not down with that. And that's what I would want. Like, if I lived in Trump country and I couldn't help it, I had to live there, I would absolutely go see a comic coming to town that was just going to have an opposing view. And by the way, let me just say, believe it or not, in my new show, I actually don't mention Trump once. And it's not like I'm scared or anything. He just kind of doesn't come up. And I really like talking about all this PTSD stuff. And I think it's relatable. But like you said, yes, I'm mindful of, I think the PTSD stuff is funny, but what I'm finding really rewarding is people relate to it with everything we've been through with COVID, which, by the way, not our most shining moment. We didn't exactly deal well with COVID. We lost our freaking minds. But
we haven't recovered.
And, I had lung cancer, so my voice is like a little bit more high-pitched. And so I talk about that, and I say to the audience, clap if you've been affected in any way by cancer. Well, almost everyone claps. And I go, clap if you've been affected, in any way by losing a friend, somebody in your Facebook group, a coworker, to MAGA or QAnon. Almost everybody claps. So then I'm like, okay, I can talk about this stuff. But, I don't know. It's super, super personal. I didn't think I'd ever be talking. I didn't think I could have PTSD. I thought it was
Yeah, tell me about that because I've heard you speak on it, but how did it show up for you, and what did you think it was at first? How did you get diagnosed? What are your symptoms?
Well, I was okay. So after I got cancer, I had my surgery, and they took half of my left lung out, and so I have 1.5 lungs, Nikki.
Oh my God.
I have.
What are you feeling from that? Is it hard to breathe? Is that what affected your voice?
Yes. So during the surgery, I was injured, and my left vocal cord is permanently paralyzed
From the tube.
So what's weird is that when I had cancer, I had no symptoms, and now that I'm cancer free, I sound like I'm sick. And
Oh my God.
and so
It's just an injury from the surgery.
Yes.
Right.
And so, I have to say right up top, like, why my voice is more high pitched. And then I go into like making fun of the audience for having 2 lungs and how I'm bitter the lunged community and how I can see their rib cage is expanding and it makes me bitter. So, yeah, you know how it is. You try to throw in anything and try to make it.
Yeah.
And the PTSD for me was for about 10 months. This is the darkest period of my whole life. For 10 months after my cancer surgery, and I just wasn't getting better, I could not stop vomiting. And let me tell you, that lays you out. Like, you can't do anything. You're dehydrated all the time.
Jesus.
I was going to the emergency room for IV infusions constantly. And then I had shrinks and my oncologist. Every doctor said you have PTSD. And I just wrote it off. I was like, I'm from Chicago. We don't get PTSD. I just thought that's
It's for people who come back from war. Like, that's what you just assume.
right. But I think, honestly, the combination of like the Trump scandal, all the threats against me, the whole like people confronting me in the street, which happened a lot. It still happens to this day,
God.
showing up at the house, Trump people and stuff, and not having really a place to go. Although I will say the FBI was very helpful, and I kind of credit them for saving my life because they would come to my house when there was what's called a credible threat.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, like, they came to my house multiple times to say, hey, there's a person who's very serious about attacking you. And I just got used to it. In fact, I did a movie, which nobody distributed, but I'm proud of it, called Kathy Griffin, A Hell of a Story. And it's a concert movie with some documentary footage. And the day of filming the comedy special part, the FBI, unannounced, came over and they were like, there's a threat. Somebody's going to try to kill you. Do you have a show coming up? And I said, yes, tonight. So that's just a mind fuck. And then I think, getting cancer and then having it alter my voice. I felt like I lost my voice as an artist during the Trump thing. And then I literally lost my voice. So now I'm just trying to get out there and tell people, like, I sound a little Minnie Mouse, but I'm okay. I'm not in pain. And then I talk about all the crazy ass shit I do to just try to stay normal, like Kundalini yoga, which I don't even know what that is, but I do it, and I yell shit, and I fucking have oils that I'm afraid of because I'm afraid of the essential oil people because they're mid-scheme and I'm afraid of them. Don't tell them I said that. It's just all this stuff that I never thought. Oh, and then get this. I became addicted to prescription pills during the Trump thing. And I tried to kill myself. And then I even talk about...
With the pills? You tried to kill yourself with the pills?
I took like 100 benzos. And you guys,
my God.
the worst part about trying to kill yourself is when you fucking wake up. I was like,
Oh, you can't even do that, right?
my first words were, you are fucking kidding me. Like, those are my...
Wait, did you write a note? Like, what
wrote a
led
note.
to that moment? You wrote a note?
Because
Kathy.
I was so messed up on pills. I'm in AA. But I was so messed up on pills that I was convinced my husband's life would be better. Like, I felt like I've had a good run. I've accomplished a lot of cool shit. It's time for me to go. But it's because my mind was so messed up on pills. So I even make fun of AA in my act because nothing is more fun than an AA meeting when someone goes up drunk. I'm supposed to laugh, but I fucking love it.
Yes.
For all of it. And like I said, I hope it's relatable. And like you said, yes, I want people to laugh and I want to make people laugh and I want to take them out of whatever they're going through for a couple of hours. It's like pretty simple.
Yeah, you're just trying. I mean, at least I feel when the stuff I talk about, I'm not trying to offend anyone, really. And I think it gets misconstrued as that so often, but I don't like things not being talked about that are like open secrets.
Yes.
And I think that the only way, it's an AA term, but if it's mentionable, it's manageable. And so when I have an entire bit about molestation or rape or, I have tons of different things that people will go, you can't touch that. Or suicide.
Yeah.
And people say you can't say that. And I always go, well, there's always an excuse for like doing like, a bit. You're like, well, I can talk about this because my brother is this. And I'm like,
Right.
well, I can talk about suicide because I am going to do it someday.
Yeah.
Like I always, I'm a future victim of it. So I think I can. But I think, you got to talk about these things because if we don't talk about them, then people keep struggling with them alone. And
Exactly.
it might make some people feel awkward.
What the hell are we doing?
I'm not interested in talking
Right.
about things that are not, I want to talk about things that are on the surface that I want to talk about porn.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Porn, no one talks about porn, yet everyone's kind of, not everyone, but many people are watching it and it gets built, they have more,
It's on
views on
everybody's
YouTube
phone.
than David went after dentists. Like,
Yeah.
it's everyone's watching it, but no one's talking about, these are the things that interest me. And I think it sometimes just gets seen the wrong way of like, oh, you love saying the thing that's going to upset everyone. It's like, that's the last thing I want is someone to be upset. I just think it's interesting to talk about things that no one else is. And I got to just credit you for your bravery of, I have like a bit I'm working on about a celebrity that I'm just like, man, if this person's like camp comes after me, like I could lose, people don't know this about the business, but
the fan armies. Oh my God, the fan armies.
Fan armies, but also like their publicists. Their publicists can say, well, you know what? She said this about her on a show. So we're never going to do Jimmy Kimmel if you let that girl do Jimmy Kimmel because of what she said. So they can start kind of blacklisting you from things if they're famous enough. But also their fan armies. What do you hold back ever with the celebrity stuff? Has there ever been a bit that you did say that you go, oh man, I really regret doing that? Have you, I'm sure you get asked this all the time, but the run-ins, you have the book. I have the book on my shelf, the A to Z Celebrity Encounters, which is incredible and has informed so much of how I look at certain celebrities now.
Oh,
I thank you for that so much.
The book aren't even talking to me now. Like I look at that book and I'm like, I wrote a freaking love letter for this person. They should send me some goddamn flowers. But no, I love celebrity run-ins because, look, we all see celebrities and we're all interested in people that are in the forefront, whether it's a political figure or a Kardashian. And I love lifting that veil because the veil is there. And now you've got celebrities that are like influencers, and that's a whole other game. And I get such a kick out of running into these people because there's like the legit people with talent that I'm just fascinated by.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are the people that are famous for being famous. But yes, I have, I've been blacklisted by everybody. I've had everybody pissed off at me. I've been confronted by everybody. And I just have to laugh because like I had like Demi Lovato's fans come after me. Those are some pissed off cutters. Let me tell you. Pissed off cutters. And I was tweeting one night and I had done like a double in Seattle and I was just, you can't sleep. So I was like, okay, I go on Twitter. This is like before Twitter was X. And I'm like, okay, I'll take questions. And somebody wrote, who's like the biggest douchebag celebrity you've ever met? And I wrote Debbie Lovato because Debbie. Debbie. I go to bed.
It's so much better than writing Demi.
My phone is like blown up. And you know that feeling if you look at your phone and there's way too many texts? Way.
Yeah. Oh, and someone's died or
and you get that feeling that's right. You're like, who died? Okay, so I call them the Debbie Army. The Debbie Army was livid. And then Debbie herself posted a picture that she took that I didn't know she took where I'm in the background, and it was at iHeartRadio, and I was introducing somebody, and then I went to watch Rihanna, and Demi Lovato took a picture of like herself going like, but with me in the background, like pointing to me like, eh. So when she stand up, then the army was,
it was on.
So it was go time. And I'm sitting there like, I'm in my 50s, kids. I don't know. I didn't have a fanner. I liked Carly Simon. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah. No, as a Swiftie, I understand the ire that can come out of those kinds of communities, and I don't take part in that kind of that part of the fan base, but you're walking a minefield now, and it's only increased with social media. So when you first started talking about, Barbra Streisand with did you know that bitch painted my wife white?
Yeah.
Like that story and stuff, like there wasn't these like social media storms that could start happening and turn everyone against you. I want to go to break, but then I want to come back and I want to hear your justification for that answer of Demi Lovato when we get back.
Okay.
We're back with Kathy Griffin. Okay, why, when asked about the most unpleasant encounter you had with a celebrity, did you say Demi Lovato?
All right. I just get a kick out of Debbie because, first of all, she was livid that I called her Debbie instead of Debbie. And I just think that's funny. I've been called Kathy Lee Griffin. I've been called Kathy Griffith. I've been called my career. I don't give a. That is not my problem in life. But she just seems to lack a sense of humor about herself, and that is my favorite kind of celebrity. I'm sorry, but
most of them,
right? So I don't make fun of like somebody who's really funny on a sitcom or somebody who's like on SNL because they're a funny person. But I really get a kick out of especially young celebrities that are wildly famous, incredibly rich, beyond privileged, beautiful, lauded, and yet every time I would run into Debbie, she just was like a sourpuss. So after this whole thing happened, we were both at the Tonight Show. I was the first guest. She was the singer, right?
Whoa, after this happened?
Yes.
Oh my God. What did you think when you realized she was going to be did you try to get rebooked? I would be so scared.
I was terrified of her army. And so I saw her in the hall.
I'd be terrified of her.
And I said, find her in the hall. She came by me and I was like, okay. So if you remember on the Tonight Show, Jay Leno would walk you over and you would watch the band. So I was standing feet away from her, kind of dancing a little. And she had a new hit single. I don't remember what it was, like the summer or whatever. And so afterwards, Jay says, let's walk over. He doesn't know anything about me and Debbie. So I walk over and I just turned to her and I said, congratulations on your new single. And she just gave me like the stink eye. And I was like, Debbie, now you're in my act more. Like, Debbie, you just
stop giving me stuff.
My act.
Yes.
All you had to do was giggle or say, hey, that whole thing was silly, or hey, we're both professionals. But I can't help it. I still get a kick out of the youngs, and often it's the youngs that are living the dream, but they're furious about one joke I made.
Yes. The lack of sense of humor about themselves. That's who I feel. I'm kind of going after J-Lo in my next set. Just some hypocrisy I see happening, which I see, you see it everywhere with every celebrity, but I'm just, my goal is if I get ascend in fame is to dispel all the bullshit that I grew up like worshiping celebrities about. Like, I think that's the new job of the celebrity is to like stop. Of course, we're on a pedestal for our talent. Sure, put us up there, but all the other bullshit, the beauty, the lighting, everything that makes us look so unattainable and makes you at home feel like shit. Like, I'm tired of it, and I want more. I just want more transparency from celebrities. I guess but my boyfriend who's producing my special is kind of like, are you ready to like go after her so hard? And I'm like, you know what I'll do is I'll amp up how I actually feel, which is she's so stunning. I'll just compliment the fuck out of her in a very genuine way, but I have to actually say the truth of how I feel too. Like I can't, I gotta balance it out somehow. Like that's how I'm feeling because people could go after me about things and I'd feel like sad if someone spent a lot of time in their comedy special, like taking something down that I was kind of shitty about. And, and I'm willing to forgive her too, or like, but
it also makes a difference if it's true. And let me tell you something.
Yeah.
She's rough, man. She's fucking rough trade.
I've heard some stories.
I've done everything from, I hosted the Billboard Awards one year when she was singing, and I'm saying that in air quotes. And I saw her like one time I got to go to a Kardashian Christmas party, which that alone was a dream. And of course they have like a photo booth with like perfect lighting and everybody looks 12 years old. And so he was with A-Rod at the time. And so I go, JLo, come on, let's take one picture together where you're like giving me the stink eye because I've given you shit on stage. And I go, see if A-Rod will do it with me. And she goes, it's Alex. His name is Alex.
Oh my God.
And I was just like, I came up to her and I said, give me the stink eye in the picture. Like, I'm handing it to her on a silver platter to go, I am willing to be the jester and you're beautiful, successful, gazillionaire JLo. And I'm actually saying, give it to me. Like, I think that's a funny picture for both of us.
Right.
But all she kept saying was, it's Alex. Alex. And so
because
I photobombed a picture of them together, and she legit was pissed.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I'm just like, what? And 2 seconds later, they got to take their
she's
grand picture, but I couldn't figure out why she was such like a malcontent. But I am fascinated by that. Just
that's the
like,
fascination. Why are you such a bitch? Like, why are these people why do they treat people horribly?
How
like,
can the
I guess
world go more your freaking way?
I know. And yet because I guess it just seems to happen with fame with people. And I know you've encountered this countless times, way more than I have, of just people who are the most famous, had the most gifted, just genetics, and then, just handed to them on a silver platter their whole life. And yet they're so mean. People, you hear stories about people working with them on set and how they're just a nightmare to work with. And it's like, why? And how is this person still working when they're such a cunt? Like, yet you get canceled for a picture, but then a person who treats everyone and doesn't let them look at them on set, is mean to everyone, holds up production 4 hours because, their tea was cold or whatever. Their eyelash extensions weren't the right ones or whatever, and holds up $1 million production. They get to keep working. Why?
Why can't they just figure out that all they have to do is laugh at themselves? That's all they have to do. Like Brooke Shields, I was on a show with her for 4 years. And and I always say she changed my life because I went from not working to being on an NBC sitcom back in the day when it was like must-see TV. So she doesn't care for me because I put a story about her in one of my specials, even though she came to see me live one time and I told the story and she was like, oh, that was really funny. Don't forget to put this part in.
What?
Like,
wait, which story was it?
It was about her wedding.
Yes, I remember. Okay,
her
yes.
mom, who was a famous alcoholic, but I get along great with her mom because I
you know how to be around alcohol.
I talk to a drunk like no.
Yes.
I can see the fun part, and her mom was, I'm not saying she was the best mom, but she was smart and clever and whatever. And so it makes me sad because I have such warm feelings for Brooke Shields, and we worked together every day for 4 years. And she's Brooke Shields, like the most beautiful, celebrated. She did comedy, she did drama, she did Broadway.
Yeah.
And we were like close. And I just would go, that's her choice.
Did you apologize? I mean, was there a interaction between you two where you said
She kind of like okayed the story.
Right.
But what pissed her off is Howard Stern mentioned it one time when I was on Howard. And she has an issue with Howard, even though I kept saying, Brooke, if you go on Howard Stern one time,
oh my God,
he will kiss your ass. He will fall in love with you. And then you'll become a regular.
Yes.
So, but I think she maybe has that like pretty girl thing where she kind of just didn't want to get there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a bummer.
I know.
You seem like a really good friend.
Yeah. And so it makes me sad when people don't take the joke, but also carry it on for like years and years.
Yeah. Well, final thought. I mean, there are some people, we can talk about the people that have been unpleasant, but some people have been extremely kind to you even throughout your cancellation.
Yeah.
And I heard you mention Kimmel never blacklisted you, Seth Meyers, Stern.
Howard. Yeah. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel had me on because my voice used to be even more high pitched. I'd had like 5 surgeries on it. And
God.
I went on there when I was literally talking like this.
Oh, yeah.
And he had me on, and he, when I got kicked off Twitter personally, by Elon Musk, because Elon.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because what I did was I changed my username.
It's hilarious what you did.
And the night before the midterms, I was tweeting, I've talked to the mothers of my children and I am now pro-choice. Vote blue no matter who. Hashtag Harris. And so people thought it was really Elon, and he got mad and he had a fit and he kicked me off. And then Jimmy called and he said, we wrote a sketch where you're playing Elon Musk. And
Amazing.
so the ones that get the joke, I'm so freaking grateful. Like, you have no idea. It just means the world when people just roll with it.
And can I ask you, going back to your voice thing, so you came out of lung cancer surgery.
Yeah.
Just thinking, okay, I just went through all of that. And then you talk for the first time and you just go, what the fuck? Like, was that
a totally different
They didn't
voice.
intend to damage your vocal cord. That was a thing that happened.
Right. In fact, the surgeon was like, well, I know what you do for a living and we need you to be out there doing your comedy and we'll be careful. And it just happened and it's permanent. And so I've had to live with that. And I just ask the audience to kind of go with it, but I can't really do impressions the same. And, it's weird because as a comic, so much of what we do, you have to really project. Like, I don't want to say I'm a yelling comic, but yelling and cursing is my love language. It's you and telling you what you did wrong is how I say I love you. And so I did my first double, though, because I was afraid my voice couldn't do it.
Oh, I was going to say, Jesus.
Double on a gay cruise. Nikki, have you done a gay cruise yet?
No. And I'm honestly, I'm trying to pivot to get more gay. Like, I'm trying to just pivot to gay audiences. I'm like, I want your audiences.
No, this is a bucket list. You have not lived until you've done a gay cruise. Those boys are serious. Julie, I know you think you've done partying in your lifetime. I know.
Yeah. But you don't drink, Kathy. Like, I don't know if I can keep up with the drinking and how do you keep up with it all on those things? Because you can't escape. It's everywhere.
No, I know. But as a comic, I get to observe and be sober and watch these boys. And they have parties and they're all theme parties. Like, one is called Guns and Hoses.
Yeah.
And it's for policemen and firefighters, even though nobody really is a cop or firefighter, but they
it's fun to dress like them.
Breaking Bad theme parties because they love Walter White and Jesse Pinkman because sometimes gays enjoy meth. And I know that's shocking. And they just lose their minds for 7 days. And I usually am on the cruise for 2 days, but I have to do a double. So at least I was like, all right. And now I have to use the Madonna headset.
Great.
But I love it. It's much.
That's so you though, man, because you should have been using those for years. You're so physical and I want to see you walk around. I love you with a mic and I love your mic work. Honestly, I've definitely, even watching myself sometimes, I'm like, oh, you've definitely learned some things from Kathy, but that seems to be that would have freed you up. That's a nice little thing that happened out of this voice thing.
No, I love it. I love it. And the first time I had it was at the Mirage, because casinos, they're almost like TV studios. They have everything.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy one now and take it town to town.
Yes.
I don't expect these theaters to have it, but I don't even remember the name of it, but it's really helpful. And for the first time, I have the freedom of my hands. And
I love that.
I'm pretty physical. I make fun of all the exercises I do for PTSD and get down on all fours. And I do this thing. Do you know what this is? Cat cow?
No. Brian, you know about it?
Yeah, it's like a yoga
Tell
move.
what it is.
Kind of just arch your back. You're on all fours, like a dog, and you arch your stomach forward, and then you arch your back.
Meow.
Yeah.
And then when you tip your head up, you moo like a cow. Now, Julie, I don't know what the hell this does to make me feel better, but all I know is I've stopped vomiting. And then,
oh my God,
the scariest time of my freaking life. So if I have to meow and moo, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll get spayed. I'll do whatever it takes. And
You're hilarious.
So I get to get down on all fours and do my meow moo.
Nice.
Well, your voice really does. It's improved so much. I had vocal cord surgery a year ago because I had nodules, and I don't know. Did you go to Dr. Zeitel's?
No, I usually go to Dr. Sugarman.
Okay, and I know. I think we've worked with. Do you work with Amy Chapman on voice stuff?
He's fantastic.
Yes. She worked with me on The Masked Singer, and she told me that she loves you so much, and I was so excited to have the same voice teacher as
she does a
Kathy
thing where
Griffin.
she literally massages your.
Oh, it's the best. She does a larynx massage.
Yeah.
It's so good. But yeah, you sound amazing, Kathy. I think
you.
and
So I'm
and
kind of self-conscious about it.
It doesn't sound like you're in pain. As long as you establish that up front for people that might worry about it. Yeah, there's it. Honestly, it's not even noticeable. Okay. You really forget about it.
Yeah.
No, it's at first you go, oh, she sounds different, but it's nothing to be self-conscious about. I hope you accept that.
All right.
Yeah.
If you hadn't mentioned it, I would not have. Thought twice about it.
Well, okay, good.
I'm so excited to see you on tour, though. I'm really gonna make an effort to drive across Missouri. I'm in St. Louis to come see you in Kansas City. Yes. I cannot wait to see you. I can't wait for this tour. Everyone has to go and buy tickets to this. Kathy is just one of the most original, most inspirational, most funniest people ever. Her live shows are insane. They're sometimes 3 hours long. It's an experience, man. So you got to go see her on the My Life on the PTSD tour, and you can get those tickets at kathygriffin.com. And they're available right now. Go check all the tour dates. There's 40 of them. Read her books. Watch her specials. She has 20 of them. Immerse yourself in all things Kathy if you haven't already. She's one of my favorites and always will be. I'm so honored that you did the podcast. Thank you so much, Kathy.
I just love you so much. You call me anytime. You know where to find me.
Thank you, Kathy. That means the world.
Julie, I love you. I miss you.
Oh, God, I love you too, Kathy.
All right.
Maybe I'll come with Nikki to come see you.
We're going to go,
you
for sure.
Nikki, Julie, you just get...
All right. I love it.
We have a special relationship.
I love you.
Guys, I appreciate it.
Bye, Kathy. Thank you so much.
Bye.